These are the learning outcomes. We will analyze and interpret the requirements of the project, that what I have already told you. Then we'll differentiate and categorize the fundamental string concept and forms of string interpolation. We already have done those things in week 1 and week 2, but I'm going to be repeating those things again. We will analyze and apply string properties, string slicing, common string operations. We'll compare and evaluate different string methods of string traversal, apply and interpret built-in string-related functions such as CHR and ORD you already used for your PS lab. And finally, if we have time, we'll design and implement some solution using string methods in varied the programming context. I already discussed the project 2. These are the specifications, these are the input, right? These are the enter the message, shift value, encoded or decoded. You need to preserve the case, ignore the non-alphabetical character, display the final encoded things. These are the rubrics that I have already told you. You need to follow the rubrics. This is like a guideline. So what you need to do, you need to implement a function to encode, implement a function to decode. Probably next class, I'll be discussing the function. You need to use loops, both for and while loop, conditional to check the character types, preserve spacing, numbers, and punctuation, accept the user input, and print clearly labeled output using the F string. I already discussed the example runs. Now come back to the string. We already discussed the string. What is a string? Sequence of character, right? It could be anything. But the one important thing that I have missed is like string is immutable. What does that mean? Once I give you the grade, I cannot change it. Right? It's like immutable. Yeah.
Can't change it.
Yeah, we can change it. String is like for the variable reassignment, you can do that, but not for the string. We have already used the variable reassignment. We have started with some value with the variable. Then later using the looping, we have changed the variable values, like variable reassignment. But for the string, we cannot. We can do that in a different way, but typically we cannot do that. That's why string is immutable. And it's a good property, the string. There are like very few data structure in Python, they are immutable. One of them is a string, and another one is tuple. But we will be covering those things in week 9 or 10. 9, I guess. So those two are immutable data structure. So keep in mind, probably someone asked you in the interview, what is the immutability? Can you reassign something to the string? Reassign something to the tuple? No, you cannot. It's because string is immutable. I already discussed how you can write an empty string. It could be single quote or double quote, not a combination of single and double quote. Okay, how we can access the string. Okay, if you have seen the all-in-one material, you can see here, I have mentioned here like revisit. That means I already have covered those things in week 1. You can revisit those things here. So here is the visual representation of a string. So here's my string, a Luther College as a string, right? So each character, so string is a sequence of character, right? So if I'm going to access each of the character, how we can access? We can access it by its index. But unfortunately in Python, the index starts from 0, not from 1. Typically, we're counting something from 1, right? But in Python and in most of the programming languages, we're counting the index from 0. So this is the 0 all the way to the end. You can see here the space has already been counted. It's because it's a character. It's a space. And the other thing is you can count it reversely. If you're counting it reversely, like wrapping up, so from 0 to -1, like wrapping reverse way. From front to end, not end to front. So -1 is the last one and all the way here. 0, then -1. That means we can easily access the first index using 0 and the last index using -1. Right? Now, how we can access? How we can access a character from a string? Using a square bracket. So here's the square bracket, you can see. Square bracket 2, that means we're going to access index 2. And index 2 is actually third item. You can see here, 0, 1, 2. So index 2 is the third item, not the second item. Okay. Now, if it is like a -1, it's the last item. -2, last before the last. Right? Make sense? How you can access the string. Now, if I'm going to access the space, not accessing the space, this space. The index 6, right? So this is how you can draw whenever you'd like to access something. Don't forget the space. Space is also a character. This is the one way. The other way is there are some built-in functions. You already have learned some built-in function like len. Len, L-E-N, is a built-in function which can give you the length of some data structure, typically a sequence of something. So here's a string. Let me write the same. School is Luther College. And I'm going to find the length. The function name is len. Can you see it from the back? Or is hard? Let me make it bigger. Okay. So len is a function, a built-in function. What does it mean by built-in function? Like Python has already some function. I already have told you to bookmark some pages. Did you? Built-in functions. Here's the len function. And how it works? It returns the length of number of items of an object. Don't worry about the object. Typically in Python, we are considering everything is an object. Integer is an object, string is an object, like everything is an object. But you'll be learning object in next class, like 1410, object-oriented programming. But keep in mind, in Python, everything is an object. So return the length of the object. The argument may be a sequence such as string, bytes, tuple, list, or range, or a collection like such as a dictionary set or frozen set. So what it is returning? A length. Let me see. So here's my string SCHOOL, and we're going to print it. It prints 14, but our last index is 13. We often miss this one. It's like off by one error. As I told you, like length is 14, but the index is 13. That's because we started from 0 to 13, but we're counting as 14. Now, 14 minus 1 is what? 13. 13, right? So if I'm writing here, here's my length. I'm writing something like length is this, and I'm going to access the school's length minus 1. What do you think? What it will return? The last index, right? E. So we can always remove this one. Like by default, it is length minus 1. That's what we're saying, like minus 1. So minus 1 and length minus 1 are the same. Or you can remember it like it is like wrapping up from 0 to -1. Either one. Okay. So this is like an accessing this character from a string. Now, how you can access a substring? For example, I would like to access the first half of the string, like the Luther or the college. How I can do that? That means I need to slice it, right? How I can slice it? Using the index. But there should be some starting slicing index and ending slicing index, right? For example, if I'm going to slice Luther, So from 0 to 5, I would like to slice, right? So let me slice it. So here is like a square bracket. That's how we can access the string. And when I'm going to slice, I need to put the starting index and the ending index. In between starting and ending, we need to use a colon. This is how we can slice. If there is no colon, that means we are accessing one single character of the string, like just the index. Like 05 is the index, and 0:5 is like starting and ending index. Let me see what it prints. It doesn't print the last index, just like the range function. That means starting index is included, but the ending index is not. Now, if I'm going to use like print the ending index, I need to write it like 6. I would like to slice 0 to 5 and to increase by 1. Then you will find the Luther. Okay. Now, sometimes we don't need to specify the starting index. That means if there is nothing before the colon, it is starting from 0. It will return the same thing. Sometimes we don't need to specify the ending index. For example, I would like to slice the college. So starting from 7, ending with nothing. It will print college. So starting index is included. That's why 7 is included. And I haven't put the ending index here. There is like the ending. You can also put the ending index 13 or 14. 13 is like it will print up to G. If it is 14, it will print the college. If you're not putting anything, by default, it is like ending index. Now, what if there is nothing here and nothing there? There is no starting index, there is no ending index. It'll print something or no? No? Yes? What will print?
Luther College.
The whole things, right? That's because by default, the starting is 0. By default, the ending is end. It will print the whole. Make sense? How you can slice that string? This is the very trivial interview problem, like how you can slice the substring, how you can find the substring. Whenever you are applying for any job, they will ask for some interview, they will ask this type of question. In a variation of this type of problem, find the substring. And it is very common things like off by 1 error. The very short time, you miss these things. Well, is it included or not included? Always, the ending index is not included. You need to increase by 1, but starting index is. If you're not, if you like to traverse the whole index, whole string, you don't need to specify the ending index. Okay. So this is a slicing. Then there's some other operation in string, like I'm writing what you already have done before. I told you, like our input function gives you the here's our val1, and here's our val2. With the val2, and I'm going to create the val2 with val1 plus val2 and print the val3, right? That's what we have done for our very first assignment. Val1 and val2, then add those two numbers and then print it. So val1 is 10, val2 is 20, it should print 30, instead it is printing 10, 20, right? We didn't have any error, but the answer is not right. What was the issue? The issue was we haven't converted the string to an integer. So this input function returns a string. This is also, that means val1 and val2 are string. We're not adding 10 and 20 to 30. Instead, we're adding two string, 10 like 10 and 20, adding all together 1020. So this is called like string concatenation. If you'd like to add multiple string, you need to use the string concatenation. How about this? Val1 with val3, like a multiplication. 10 and 20 is 200, right? What do you think? What will print?
I think it'll give an error.
It'll give an error basically, but given that the val2 is like 3. How about this?
10, 10, 10.
It will repeat the string. So this is the string repetition with the multiplication sign. So if I'm writing 10, it will write 10, 10, 10. We're repeating the string 3 times instead of multiplying 10 with 3. But there will be an error here because it's like a string. It's a string. You cannot multiply string with string. It should be integer at one point. Okay. Then what other operation? In concatenation, repeating in operator, which is like an identity operator. In operator is looking for the substring. So for example, I'm going to find something from the Luther College. This is my string, school Luther College. I would like to find whether this particular substring is in the, for example, like Luther is in the school. As I told you, identity operator returns true or false. That means if this particular substring is in the string, it will return true, otherwise false. So what I'm going to print here, I'll print the whole thing to see what it returns. Prints true. How about smaller case L? So it is case sensitive. So even if Luther is same to us, but not to the computer. It's because uppercase and lowercase are different. So for your project, you need to follow the same thing. So uppercase A and lowercase a are not the same. It's because it has two different ASCII values. What is the ASCII? ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. You can find a lot of ASCII values for each number. So where's the ASCII values? Should be table. So for example, for A, what's the A? It's the capital A, the ASCII value is 65. For the small letter A, it is 97. So 97 and 65 are not the same. For the computer, it's a two different number, but for us, it can be same. Right? So yeah, you need to follow the same thing. ASCII is like American Standard Code for the information interchange. That means we are trying to interchange the information from us to computer. We need to use some standard value so that I cannot write a different value from other countries. Coder, it should be standard. That's why ASCII is the standard code. So yeah, Luther is not there. So that means it is returning true or false. Now, can I check not in? Have you used this one, not in? You have used in, but have you used not in? So not in, like negating of the in operator. So not in is like, is it not into the there? Because if it is false, that means it is true. It is there, right? Like negating and negating. In there, false. Not in there, false means like true, right? So if I'm using Luther, it will print false. So Luther not in false means like true is there. You could use both cases, both condition, in or not in, depending on the scenario. If I ask you, can you find Luther in the Luther College? Or I can say, can you find my name to the Luther College? Then you'll see not in, it will return true. See, if I'm writing not in, my name in not in the college, it will return true. It is not in the college. Okay. Okay, I told you about the string immutability. So here is a good example, like greeting is hello world. And since it's a string, I can access one single character by this way, right? Like I'm going to access the first index. And if I'm going to reassign J to that particular index, we cannot, because string is immutable. We'll have a type error. You need to keep in mind what type of error it can occur if we are going to reassign something to an immutable data structure. Okay. Now, how about this? So what I'm going to do here, this is a string J, then plus, that means string concatenation, right? And then greeting 1 colon. What does it mean by the greeting 1 colon? From 1 to the rest of the string, right? That means I'm skipping the H and taking the whole string except the J, like H, and I'm concatenating with J. This is how we can like reassign or manipulate the string, though it is immutable. We cannot write this way, but the other way. We can skipping the first character and joining the another character with it. Make sense? If someone asks you, is this string immutable? No, it is not. Can you change the hello world to jello world? Yes, I can do that, but without the string property of immutability. What I can do that, I can use the string concatenation. And in that case, I will just use a first character as it is, then concatenate with the rest of the character except the first character of the initial string. And how we can do that? 1 colon, starting from 1 to all the way, like slicing. Okay. Okay, now string comparison, like values, like integers or float, we can compare the string, like an apple with an apple, but we cannot compare apple with an orange, right? The same thing here. In the string, we cannot compare apple, smaller case apple, with a capital apple. It's because it's small apple and bigger apple, right? We cannot compare it. So comparison operator are the same. They are be using as a what is the exact word? Lexicographic ordering, actually. Just like alphabetical, but generalized. So A with A. So what it does, write it here. So for an example, I have like attack and attack. So what it checks with A, and the first one, it is bigger. That means batak is the bigger word. Now, how about this? This one maybe. So what it does, it checks the first character is the first character, same. Go to the second character, they are same. Then T, they are same. Then A, they are same. C and D, it is bigger. If it is like a B instead of D, then it is smaller. It will check character by character. Now, if it is like an attack, what do you think? They're equal? Which one is bigger?
I think the second one.
Second one, based on the ASCII values. They're actually checking the ASCII values. That means you can use the equal like the equality, not equality, greater than, less than, greater than equal, less than equal. all of those comparison operator that we have learned from our last modules, like module 2. We can use those things in a string. We can also use another operator like identity operator is. I told you on that class, like is and equal are same in some aspect, not all aspects. What does that mean? It will check only the value equality. Equal is comparing the value only, and is not only checks the value, but also it checks the type. Like in our case, 2 and 2.0 are same. So value wise, they're same. But type wise, they are not. One is integer, another is float. So in the equal, it will return the same, true. But if you're writing if 2 is 2.0, no, it is not. It's because they're not same type. Make sense? Okay. String comparison. There I tell you the is keyword compares the object IDs while equal compares the values only. Now traversal. How we can traverse the string? There are various ways. At least we know two types of loops, for loop and while loop, right? But we can traverse a string in two different ways for the for loop, and definitely you can convert the for loop to while loop. Like there are three ways to traverse a string. Okay. Let me write something here. Here is my string. I'm going to travel, and I'm going to traverse this string. What are the way that I can traverse the string from the first index to the last index? What do you think? How we can traverse the string? So the first thing, I need to know how I can access the string, right? Each character by its index, right? That means I know the index. And I know the index starts from 0. What is the stopping criteria for my loop? The end of the string. End of the string. How I know the end of the string? -1. -1 will give you the last index, like last item. But what is the last index? Like how many characters are there? The length, right? That means this is my start is 0, and the end is the length of the string. That means I have a boundary. Now I can traverse. Then come to the for loop, right? So for character in the range of end, right? Here's the case. End is the last index. No, not the last index. End is the length of the string. Let me shrink it down like a 5 character long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This is my character. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the length of the character? Like length of the string? 4? 0 to 4. Like 0 is the first index, 4 is the last index. But what does the length function return? 5. It returns the length. But index is the 4, right? Now, if I put here the 5, how it works? The range function start from 0, ends with end -1, right? Our end is 5, end -1 is 4. That means we're good from 0 to 4. That means we're good, right? If you're writing n +1, that means you miscalculate those things, then you'll have an error. Whatever, starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is no fifth index 5. There's a fifth index, but there is no index 5. You'll have an error. What type of error it is? index out of bound error. Okay. So here's the end, and let me print the string. So what does it mean by the CH? CH is not the character, it's like the index, right? So let me rewrite these things as an IDX so that it makes more sense. It's like an index, not the character. So I'm accessing each index, not the character. Then if I know the index, I can access the particular character, right? How I can do that? The string accessing its index, right? First I'm accessing the index. I know this is the range. And then for each index, I will find that particular character. Make sense? Any question? So let me print it. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me write it a different name. It's printing the character, the string basically, character by character, by accessing its index. So what I can do, I can print the index with the letter. So what I can do, index, then I can use that, not actually. Index colon the particular value. So the first index is I, second index is nothing, the last index is 8. But it has 9 characters. So instead, and you can write this one. Okay. I'm writing all together. Question?
Yeah. Would rather us use this method or just the method of like letter in word or letter in word?
Both are okay, depending on your expertise. If you're more expert, you can write all together. If you're not, then break it down. But the first thing is like break it down is the easiest way. That's what I've been starting and ending, then ending. But when you're expert, you can write all together. That's why I haven't put the starting index here. Starting index is 0, right? I haven't put it here because it is default. Okay. Can someone help me to convert this for loop to while loop? While loop. How I can convert this for loop to a while loop? What are the conditions for the while loop?
Gotta have some kind of variable that gives you an exit condition. So and you can make it 0.
Okay. So it's like an exit condition or a starting condition?
An exit condition. Once I gets to a certain point, then you leave the loop.
Yeah, definitely. But right now it is like a starting condition, right?
Mhm.
So I can write like our index. So what I'm going to do, I'd like to the same thing. I'd like to access the whole string by index from 0 to the length of the string. So I'm writing index str index. Start index, not the str. Start index. And what's the end index? The same. The length of what's that?
Length of string 1.
Yeah, let's start length of string 1. So I know a starting index and ending index. Then I can write the while loop. How long it is true? The starting index is less than the ending index. Less than means what is the length? So starting index is 0, length index is 9. This is not the end index. End index is what? 8. We need to traverse from 0 to 8. But the len function returns the length of the string. That is 9. But if we're going to traverse 9th index, you'll have an error. To traverse from 0 to 8. That's why we're writing is less than end index. Or we can write is less than equal end index minus 1. From 0 all the way to 8. Okay. Depending on your preference. You could use the is less than this. If it is less than equal, That make more sense. Like I'm going to access the index range. So I don't need to worry about what is going beyond this one. So as long as it is equal to the end index, then I'm fine. And what is the end index? I'm writing length minus 1. That make more sense, right? This is the end index. And I am going to traverse start index till the end index and then print the same thing. Okay. Anything else?
Starting index plus equals 1.
Oh, it's showing here. That means we don't have any what you call control over the loop, right? We have to control it so that it will never go to the infinite one. I found some of you submitted your project like using while loop, getting the input again and again. Not the project, the assignment, but there is no exit condition. And you probably have seen most of your submission. I have put one comment like instead of 2 option, how your code handle like C and capital letter C are the same, right? How you can handle, but I will like discuss those things later in this class. But first thing is like I need to control the loop by incrementing the start index by 1 so that it will reach from 0 to all the way to the end index. When it is done, we're done. It will print the same thing. Okay. Now the third way of accessing the string is in operator access. So what I can do for character in string 1, that means the in operator always check the particular character and increment by 1. Go to the next one, go to the next one. You don't need to use the index here. You can see here the difference between this one and that one. So for the first one, we are getting the index range from 0 to 8. To the index range, we can start with the first index, second index, third index, and access each character. But here, we're not doing this that way. We're accessing the character. We're pointing the first character, going to the second character, third character, and so on and so forth. This is the third way of accessing a string. Here, we are not accessing the string, just the character that is pointing. The character is the variable, which is a loop variable here, which is updating again and again by like from starting 0 index to the end of the string. This is the easier way, is because you don't need to control the loop. You may not have any error, any index out of bound error. It's because it always knows like a definite loop. I know it will go from here to there. Okay. This will print the same thing. I'm here and this is the third one. This is the second one, while loop, and the first one is the index and the number. So there are 3 ways. There are 2 ways for the for loop and 1 way for the while loop. Excuse me. For the for loop, you can access by its index or by the sequence itself. For the sequence, you need to use the in operator like this. For the index, you need to find the index range by using the len function and then iterate the index. For each index, you need to access this particular character. Same thing for the while loop. You need to know starting point and ending point, like a starting and ending index. Then you can access each of the character. Any question about the string accessing? No? If I ask you the same question in the exam, can you write it down? Okay. If I ask you, can you convert a for loop to while loop? Given a code, can you do that? Okay, now ORD function and the CHR function. So there are 2 different types of function, ORD and CHR. ORD function gives you the ASCII value of certain character. And CHR function, if you give the ASCII value to that function, it will return the character. So CHR is like character conversion by its ASCII value. I'm not sure what is the exact name of the wording. I don't know what's the exact name of the wording. Built-in Python function, let me see. ORD, ordinal value of a character. So yeah, so ordinal, something like that. So it's like returning the ASCII value, and CH stands for the character. Now for the A and the A are not the same. For the capital A, it will return what? 97, right? For the A, it will return 65. Those are the two things you need to remember. For the capital A, it is 65. The smaller A, capital A plus 26. 97, right? Isn't it? I think 97. Oh, what's the ASCII value? ASCII table. Yeah, 65 and 97. Not exactly 26. There are like some other characters here. I was wrong. So yeah, 65 and 97, not just 65 plus 26. There's some other characters in between capital Z to smaller a. Okay. Okay, so what next? String methods. So far we have discussed this built-in function. Built-in function means like Python has its own function that you can use over any data structure. It could be string, it could be integer, it could be other type of things, right? But when I'm saying string methods, that means there's some specific method for that particular object. You can only use that particular method or function, whatever it is, over that data structure. That means there are like two different syntax, right? So previously we have written like this way, CHR, ORD. But in the string, we cannot write this way. What I need to do here, I need to use, if it is a string, like hello, I would like to convert this string to a uppercase one. This is a lowercase. I would like to convert to uppercase. There is a method called like upper. You need to use this syntax dot upper. If you're using dot something, that means it is a type of string. You could use the string dot upper, or you can directly use this one, hello dot upper, because hello is a string, right? And let me print what it returns. It returns the uppercase of hello. Now for your case, the options were C and Q, right? C for continue, Q for quit. So what you can do, whatever the input, it could be C, it could be C, it could be Q, it could be Q, right? So whatever the input dot lower equal C, right? Or the other way, upper, and then it's like uppercase. That means if I'm trying to convert this thing as an in is a variable which not is a keyword. Is a keyword. What I can say, input one or option OP1. That makes sense, right? Oh, snooze it. Okay, option one. It could be anything, capital C or smaller c. I don't need to worry about, right? As I'm going to convert it to uppercase. If it is an uppercase C, it is also an uppercase C. Like for example, this C is C, it will convert the capital C. If it is the C, small c, it will convert to the uppercase C. This is how you can handle the user's input. User can say, well, I'm putting C. You haven't mentioned like it should be a lowercase c. And from my lower vision, I cannot see the smaller case C or uppercase C because they're the same, right? Looks like same. You can handle the user's input by this way. For your project, there is like two things, E and D, right? E and D. You haven't mentioned that you need to enter the smaller case E or uppercase E. User can enter uppercase E here, right? You can handle it. Okay. There are some built-in methods, but today we don't have too much time. We'll be covering those things in next class before starting the function. And there is like not so brief list of string methods. These are the function name and the method names. Function means like built-in function. We're referring function as a built-in function. Whenever there is a method, it is a part of a data structure or an object, like a string method, list method. But function means like it's a built-in function. That means we can use any data structure to that function. So these are the string methods. But if you need to know the list of all methods, what can I do? Anyone? If I need to know all string methods, how do I know that? First thing is like memorize. The second thing, searching Google. No. Third thing, you don't have those two things. So one in was that?
Documentation?
Documentation is a different thing. Documentation is like you're getting the details of some function, but I'm going to find all of the function name. Like upper, I missed here, like upper, right? But this is not the right syntax. It is like upper. But if I'm not sure whether it's like upper or upper, so what I can do, there's a function called like dir. If you print anything in the dir, anything means like the any data structure, like our data structure is string here, right? Nothing. So it will print all the list of all functions. It's like handy, right? dir is the function name. It's hard to see here, but if you expand it, or scroll it down, up, right? Here's the lower, should be somewhere upper. But yeah, I'll be discussing those things later in the next class. Okay? Any further question? No?